I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today I'm joined by Mr. Dan MacQueen. He was living a normal, healthy, active life at age 28 after a optometrist's appointment to identify the cause of his persistent headache was cut short. He was handed a sealed envelope and told to go directly to the hospital. What followed was an emergency brain surgery. Now he lives life trying to get back to his normal active life by helping others, by telling and sharing his story with everyone that will listen. So I would like to give a huge welcome and introduction to Dan. Thank you so much for coming on. I cannot wait to hear your story because I read a little bit of it, a lot of the intro and about me, and it's very compelling, and I cannot wait for you to tell it. So thank you for coming on today.
Hey, brother, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
So if you could just introduce yourself and tell me a little bit more about your backstory.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Dan MacQueen. I'm a keynote speaker based in Vancouver, Canada. I speak about mindset, change management, resilience, and motivation. Life after traumatic brain injury in London in 2014. Let me map out what happened so you're on the same page as me. Healthy, active guy, living my best life in London. Big nights out. Had a keg at the office. Closed the pub down after that. Night bus home at 4 a.m. Fast and loose, not a care in the world, playing sports, drinking lots of beers, having a good time. Started having these headaches. And they got worse after a few weeks. Painkillers like candy for them. My head was pounding. Headaches got so bad. I was on the tube one day. The tube takes zigzag around London, lumbering towards Nine Hill Gate tube station on the District line. Now, that's a slow roll at the best of times. Headaches were so bad, vision turned starry and I saw spots. And it slowly started to fade to black. It was a race to see who could arrive at the station first, me or the blindness. I arrived at Nine Hill Gate tube station and stepped onto the platform. Mind the gap. And the lights went out. I couldn't see a thing. So I want to ask you, able-sighted guy your whole life, all of a sudden you're thrust in the depths of blindness. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you do?
I don't know. I'd feel pretty lost at that point. I don't know what I'd do.
That's a fair response. I was confused. I was scared. I was frozen in terror. I decided to stay like a statue on the platform. The station swirling around me. The noise of the station, the smells in my nostrils. I can't see a thing. After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision comes back, and I carry on my day. But the next day, I go storming back into A&E. A&E is like accident emergency, is accident emergency in the UK, like ER in Canada, United States. Like, what the hell is going on here? I was blind on a tube station in London. This is not normal. What's happening? They ran some tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. On the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked by an optometrist. An optometrist, that's rather odd. I'm not a doctor, don't plan to play one now, so sure, why not? Next day, the headaches came back with a vengeance. and I found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam. Excuses himself in the room and he comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope which he hands to me. He told me to go directly to Moorfield's hospital, which I did. Well, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, a phone charger, and a bite to eat. Then I arrived at Moorfield's hospital, handed the envelope. They ran the same test there, and then escalated me to Charing Cross Hospital. We're getting somewhere. I'm thinking this is positive. Now it turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain caused from a non-cancerous cyst in my pineal gland. Now it turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. Now it turns out I was about to change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mom she reads, "I'll see you soon, Mom. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan." So Mom's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong, and I have a massive bleed in the brain, a brain hemorrhage. And the cyst burst when they operated. Mom lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks, but was in and out of consciousness for months after this. Things were pretty tight, touch and go. When all of a sudden I learned how to walk, talk, and smile again. That's where my story kicks off.
So after you had done the brain surgery, what was the recovery process like, and how long were you in recovery for?
Well, it was in the ICU for about a month in Charing Cross for 11. Then I moved to moved to Wilson Rehab Center, outpatient acute rehab, bespoke to my injuries, to head injuries. So I was there for 3 months. In rehab for about 6 months, and then I was able to go back to work, 3 half days a week, 2 half days a week, building myself back up from the injury, putting some distance behind me. Before I dive into that, can I just tell one story about recovery? May I share a story about recovery?
Yes, absolutely.
So to give you an indication of how bad things were, I was not able to walk for the first 3 months after the brain injury. My leg had atrophied in the coma. It was non-viable. We had to stretch it out with an experimental Botox injection in the back of the leg, with a samurai-sized sword injection, excruciatingly painful. Now I wore a splint over my left leg. A splint's like a caster over your leg to gently tease the leg muscle back into shape. Now the first night I wore the splint through the night, no issue, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. Hinting it's not going to be easy, right? The second night after 20 minutes it was painful. After 30 minutes it was dreadful. After 40 minutes it was unbearable. I buzzed the nurse, take the splint off my leg because I can handle the pain. But I told them tomorrow we're doing this for an hour. I'm a walker, I can handle the pain. Big talk. So third night they're up the leg, tie it off with the ankle. Give me a click of the nurse call button. They go patrol the Wilson ward. Now the Wilson ward was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. Leave me in that hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell. Sanitized, sterilized. It's clean, but you're wondering what sort of atrocities have been committed under the guise of assessments. After 10 minutes, legs painful. After 20 minutes, legs dreadful. After 30 minutes, legs unbearable. I start passing clicker back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain. I'm wearing the eye patch today to counteract the little vision I've got. Wasn't wearing this at the time, so I'm passing this back and forth. As the pain ratchets up, my throats get more enthusiastic. Till eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker and it lands on the hard linoleum floor 3.5 feet down the ground. Sugar, I say. I didn't say sugar, brother. I look over the edge of the bed. There's the clicker there on the floor looking back at me. If I get that clicker, I can stop this pain. I can end this monstrosity. Only problem was a fall from that height might break my arm. In fact, I figured about a 50-50 chance of me breaking my arm. A coin flip. Not the best odds. I changed tack. I'm trying to untie the splint, but it's tied up at the ankle, not at the hip. I can't reach that far down. I'm not that flexible. Help! Help! I'm yelling as loud as I can, but the word the Wilson was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're at the far end of the ward. They can't hear me out for help. I just had to flip down and grab the clicker. Flip the coin. Drop down and grab the clicker. Even if I break my arm, the splint's gonna come on my leg. That's part number one, two, and three. Lower myself off the edge of the bed, and I crash down in heat, blankets, wires, cables, all to go. The arm holds. And I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurses to come bursting into the room like the bats that have been put up. They kind of stroll in 5 minutes later. What are you doing the floor of? First of all, I say, that's a fantastic British accent there. Where'd you say it from again? In all honesty, I didn't say that. So let's get the split up and let please I'll tell you about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters, right? It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters. The reason why I told you that story is I learned 3 lessons from this experience. The first lesson being, let's not pass the clicker back and forth. That's a bad idea. The second lesson being, let's tie the splint up at the hip, not the ankle. That way I can untie that should this happen going forwards. And the third lesson was just always be solutions oriented. When things go sideways in life, which sure as you're born they will, let's focus on a solutions-based approach. How do you resolve your issue? How do you fix your problem? With the help of the splint, I was able to start walking all over the Wolfson. Moved up the Zimmer frame, moved up to the Ferrari, which is a four-wheeled walker in Ferrari racing red. I'm waddling fast and moved to naked walks. Now, what's a naked walk, you may ask? I'm walking without sport aids. I'm walking naked. The term kind of stuck. People were so aghast that I told them I went for a naked walk, the term kind of stuck. Then came time to walk in Tooting Broadway. So can I ask you, have you been to London, England?
I have not, but I've always wanted to visit, but I've never been to London.
All right, cool. So I'm going to tell you about an area in South London called Tooting Broadway, an area they call up and coming. Think loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boy is busy. I'm walking with a cane. I'm walking with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time. Immediately get slammed into by someone. Stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking this is a pretty wild place to learn to walk. After a few days of this, I was thinking this is the worst place to learn to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place to learn to walk in the world. Now maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. And Toon Broadway didn't change, right? But it went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced is the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. But we can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit, shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Now, your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts. Will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you, a loved one. You will take that punch to the mouth. How you respond? I'm offering a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. Look at things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks that will allow you and your team to be better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan MacQueen, and the reason why I told you that story about learning to walk in Tooting Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that. So that's a mouthful of my recovery and rehab process, but some perspective I've offered from my lessons learned and hopefully a good jumping off point to talk about some other stuff about my injury.
Well, that story's really is so compelling. Did the doctors have a prognosis of how the brain hemorrhage started, or did it just happen so quickly that it could just there was really no cause for it?
Yeah, there was a growth in my pineal gland, non-cancerous growth. They wanted to remove, and when they went to remove it, the brain pressure changed and it caused a brain hemorrhage. That's what caused everything. And that blip was in my DNA, so there's nothing I had done to mitigate that. That was in my body, growing, ticking time bomb. So like people ask me, do you regret this happening? I'm like, well, I can't regret it happening because I'm only alive because this blip was in my DNA. Without it, it wouldn't be me. Without it, I'm not Dan MacQueen, and I wouldn't trade myself for the world. So it's as much a part of me that as I am as of it. So I can't wish it didn't happen. It's part of me.
After you were able to get released from the hospital, what life changes did you have to do about everyday life? Did you have to change how you had to live life every day, or just tell me a little bit about what you do as like a daily routine?
Yeah, so out of the hospital, it was quite an abrupt change from like the nerfed up world to the hospital. Being on the tube, being in public places, like it was quite hectic, quite overwhelming for like a brain injury survivor to do that. I created these hacks to help me mitigate stresses and whatnot in the busy streets of London. So I'll give you a couple of these hacks. to help you understand how I mitigated this, and that's icebreakers. So London's a busy city, right? The circuses, Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Circus, they're a bloody circus. You want to find an icebreaker. What's an icebreaker? Someone walk in your direction and you walk behind them. Let them break the ice for you. Coax off there, works so you're not dealing with oncoming people, but you're working off there, paving the way for you, right? An icebreaker is so key for this. Timer on the phone. Sometimes I can get lost in my own head and lose track of time, so I set timers on my phone. So I'll do a task for 15 minutes, set a timer for 15 minutes, or alarm for this podcast, for instance, this morning at 10 o'clock. Alarm at 9:50 to remind myself there's a podcast at 10 o'clock. Be ready for that. I've got these strategies to kind of mitigate my gaps in my brain power now. But every day I got to wake up with intention, right? It's like I got to wake up early. Usually I'll meditate, cold shower, push-ups, make my bed. I gear up the same way every day to get myself armored up for the day. And I've done this through trial and error. If I don't do this, I'm not as good as I could be. And I've got limited juice now, so I can't be wasting on peripheral stuff. I've got to be intentional, motivated, and caffeinated when I get up and start my day. So it's very important that I'm religious with this routine and keep myself in the best position to be successful. But it's through trial and error that I learned this process and reading Tim Ferriss' books, Tools of Titans, to understand what habits I want to take on board to my morning routine that can serve me the best for my day-to-day activities.
It says on here that you are a host of a podcast called Play Loose. Can you tell me a little bit more about how the name came to be and how the podcast started?
Yeah, for sure. So the podcast is on pause right now, but the name's gold, right? Play loose, like tight. What does that mean? It's so ridiculous. It's a life mantra in 4 words. Play loose. Play is the first word by intention. If you're not playing in life, what are we doing here? Joie de vivre, have fun, loose, fun, play, loose. Play loose is the first 2 words. Conversely, you want to look tight. Be on time with your dress and demeanor. Show up knowing what you need to know for your organization and podcasts. Be intentional with your design and desire. Play loose, look tight. Document the personal life after. Is my podcast and it's on pause right now, but it talks about life after the injury. Play loose, look tight. Document the personal life after. And helps you to kind of mitigate injuries and set things up in a stoic mindset to navigate change successfully. The last episode was episode 7, so hopefully when I start back up, we'll do part 2, episode 8, and we'll go from there. But that's when speaking gets more consistently off the ground, I'll look to get that back off the ground as well.
What's a huge key takeaway that you would like listeners to get from listening to your podcast?
It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters. That's a Stoic through line, Epictetus. It's not mine. OG Stoic philosopher. But that mindset of like, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters is everything in life. If you can get your mind around that, man, you're invincible. I'm not worried about what happens to me now. I know I can rise to the occasion and make it happen. Like I've had so many knocks, it's ridiculous. But like, what's under the knock? Chicks dig scars, right? Like I've got scars accumulated for the wazoo, but like it's like I don't fear that now. I know I can mitigate this and reframe things in my mind to navigate this change successfully. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to the matters is a key lesson for that.
In 2015, you had a setback happen. Can you tell me a little bit about how you handled that second round of adversity?
Yeah, so this was the lowest point in my life. Back to work, 2 half days a week, 3 half days a week. I was turning and burning in the world, putting this brain injury behind me. Well, what happened was I used to be my mom at the 2 before I went to work in the morning. She'd go off on her walk, I go into the office. One day I didn't show up. She calls my cell, no response, walks up to my flat, 5 minute walk from Gold Road Tube Station, knocks on the door, no response, opens the door. There I am unconscious on the floor. I'm rushed to the hospital. Wake up the next day from the hospital, beeping noise in the heart monitor going off behind me, beep, beep, beep. What happened? What happened? What happened? Well, Dan, you had a second setback. What do you mean? All my progress was washed away? I had a block in my shunt in my brain. Very rare they tell me less than 10% of cases. Lucky me, I thought. I described my recovery like a W, right? The first setback's down here. I kind of scamper back up. I'm about halfway back up. The second setback's not where the first one was, much lower. The depths of the human experience. Where your hopes and dreams are snickered at. You thought you had a chance, but you're not going anywhere. We get you right back down where you belong. This is the lowest I've been in my life, and it took every piece of mental fortitude I've got to get myself out of the pity spiral. The woe is me, this isn't fair, because you're right, it's not fair. But guess what? No one's coming to save you, man. You had to kind of accept this setback and relish it. I realized that all the gains from rehab were lost, but I knew I could do them better because I had just done rehab before. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to them matters, right? I embodied this mindset of like I can rehab faster than I did last time and get myself back up. And now on the ascent. So the W is climbing back up, right? And we're back up to here now. And it's about mindset more than anything else. What you think about it that matters more than what it is. So it's so key that you embody this. And I've lived it. Unfortunately, I've had to live that twice, two setbacks, and the second one was much more difficult than the first, if I'm honest with you.
You have a lot of huge goals that you like to try to reach, with skiing being one of the big goals for you. Can you outline how goal setting has helped you rebuild and strive for bigger goals and for future goals?
Yeah, for sure. So skiing, well, let me talk about goal setting for a second here, right?
Hmm.
The key thing I want your listeners to understand with goal setting is aim small, miss small. Pick a small target you can hit, land it, and then next week rise it up by five and land it, land and ratchet, land and ratchet, land and ratchet. I had this big overarching goal of skiing, which seemed like was a moonshot goal when I said it aloud. I didn't get there by doing nothing for 10 years and then skiing one day. I did it by like doing little bits every week, every month, every year to build myself into a place where I could ski. So that jump was not a big chasm, but the natural next step to make. And I was actually able to ski 2 years ago. So thank you for that tire pump. I was working on the rehab bars with the rehab team early days in the brain injury, and they asked me what I wanted to get back to doing. And I thought, that's a big question. I gotta have a good answer for this. I'm like, well, growing up, I played everything: soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball, skiing. Well, that skiing would be a big goal to aim for. Let's aim for that. That's a big goal. I told them I want to ski again. They paused, nodded in agreement. Okay, they said. Their eyes betrayed them entirely. And I was like, okay, cool. I said it out loud. I want to make this happen. So that's when I want to make this happen. So I said 10 years from the last ski trip I was on, 2012. So 2022 was the last time I skied, or was when I wanted to ski by. Late in the season into March, by the season in the shop, they get waxed, they get sharpened, but they couldn't adjust my bindings. Those were too old to be worked on, they told me. For liability reasons, they couldn't touch those. Cool, cool, cool. I thought no big deal. The bindings hold your feet to the skis and they either break off or they don't. Um, Took a stab on March 31st, or March 31st. Landed on sun, which is key because you ski in the spring. If you rain on the base, you rain on the slopes. Basic Grousebound Super Sky Ride. Remember the OG hack to be the last one on the gondola. The way you can mesh your skis and your poles and the doors that close behind you. You can ride up hands free, get your gear looking right, and you're owning that gondola ride up. You're the OGs on the hill. So I told the boys this. We're riding up with the gondola, got the spot, getting our gear looking right. Over the first tower, big forwards, big back. If you'd all close your eyes, I'll take you to the last leg of the gondola. Feeling nipple cold in your cheeks? Not a lot, but enough to let you know your altitude. Dock of the station. We're gonna walk through the station with our gear. Clomp, 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 clomp. Open the doors into a wall of sunshine. Let it hit your face. Big inhale through your nose. Smell the cedars, the pines, the sap. Down the stairs, clang, clang, clang onto the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Open your eyes, please. We situated the boys, Andrew and RJ. Then for 10 years off the slopes, I skied, and I skied like I didn't miss a day. I was cutting turns, just like I visualized, three pumps of the poles into a left-hand turn, again and again and again. To tell you that this is possible would be a lie. This is through and through a moonshot goal, something bold to aspire to. Something, if I can only get back to doing this, wouldn't that be something? And here I am skiing. You have goals you're aiming at. What's holding you back? You're not able to walk, not able to talk, not able to smile. Reminded by this quote from Confucius, hit me different the first time I heard it. We live two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. This goal was astronomical. This was so audacious to say this out loud. It was not even possible to even think I could do this. And I said it out loud. But I got there by ratcheting up to a point where that next step was so logical, so easy to make that it wasn't a gap to make that next step. It's okay to have aspirational goals to shoot for, but you get there by ratcheting up small, aim small, miss small, ratchet up step by step. The goal should be a very easy next step to hit. That way you can hit your goals and succeed. I'm not interested in you making big audacious goals and failing. I'm interested in you doing them and succeeding. And that's how you can do goals and be successful with that. So thank you for the question.
Through this whole process, who's been your huge inspiration and who's helped you keep fighting for to get to where you are today?
I've had a lot of support, and I wanted to prove those people right that supported me. Friends and family came over from Vancouver to help support me for a couple years in London. Friends visited me in the hospital quite often, and Dan, you're doing so well, you're recovering so well. Yeah, but I could do more. I can make it look like I'm trying as hard as I can do, but I can try harder. Also wanted to prove people wrong. That was the biggest motivator for me initially off the hop. The way the nurse got me talking again. She took me down to the park and she said, "Damn, those kids across the park. They don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk." And I realized pretty quickly this is a trigger for me. I mustered up some courage and yelled across the park. Some professors playing your team today. You just say what found what motivates me. And lastly, service. Your success is my success. My success is your success. I'm interested in paying this forward, letting you know what I've learned through my experience so you can mitigate and avoid the pitfalls I've dove into. I had so much help, right? You may not have the help I had. In which case, I don't know if you come back from where I'm at today. I'm here because I have the help I had. Maybe you don't have that. So those three pillars of motivation drive me forward today. Service, proving you wrong, and proving you right are the biggest things pushing me forward today.
Do you have any future goals that you would still like to hopefully reach one day?
Yeah, I think speaking, I want to amp it up and go bigger stages, bigger fees, bigger audiences, bigger impact. Goal would be something audacious like Madison Square Garden, which is ridiculous to say out loud now, considering I haven't spoken in any sort of stadiums at all. But like, hey man, I realize that like you gotta have moonshot goals to aim for. But I get there by ratcheting up one step at a time. Not by doing nothing for 10 years and then hoping to get on the stage. I get there by like taking small steps to reach towards my goal every day. And that's how I build myself up and reach those goals.
What's been some of the best advice you've ever received, and what advice do you still take and hold on to till this day?
Stoicism is quite an important part of my life now. And that's books by Ryan Holiday. Ego is the enemy, discipline is destiny, courage is calling. I invite you to read those books, embody those lessons learned, and understand what really drives people forward. Understand, can I control this? If yes, do something about it. If no, I punt it immediately. But reframing obstacles is that. Can I control this? Yes, no. If yes, do something about it. If no, punt it immediately. That mindset makes everything yes or no, binary. And I am able to punt and move faster and quickly through decision making to know if I can do something about it or if I can just avoid it and just move on from it. So I invite your listeners to be very binary with what they can control, what they can't control, and focus on what they can control and move forward with life.
What advice do you give to people that are dealing with something similar or they have a family member that's going through a really challenging time? What advice do you give to them on how to get make it through this challenging time?
Two phrases I'd utter to them: aim small, miss small, and better than yesterday. Let me explain for them both men. Aim small, miss small. Pick a target to aim towards. That could be getting in the wheelchair in 45 minutes, not 50. Next week, 40, not 45. Next week, 35, not 40. But that small target you can measure and track and ratchet up for, and then better than yesterday. Every day I try to be better than yesterday. What can I improve? What can I streamline? What can I mitigate down, right? But like continuous improvement is so key for this. And aim small, miss small. And that way you can ratchet up to a point where you're happy with. Momentum is so big. Get momentum on your side. Help it, let it help you breathe and move forward in life. So aim small, miss small, better than yesterday, momentum are key things. So three lessons learned I give them.
Well, then, you know, to hear your story, you can tell your story very well. most people that have gone through this similar, if they've gone through this similar traumatizing thing, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of willpower to be able to tell your story, and you can tell it very well. I mean, you're a really good storyteller. I really appreciate how you tell your story and share your story. And I do hope that if someone's out there listening to this that is a person that likes to have very inspirational public speakers, I really hope that you finally get that break and hope, and I think for you to be able to still dream about Madison Square Garden, it'll happen. I mean, if you keep fighting every day like you do, it will definitely happen because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are feel very hugely inspired by this story. It shows a lot of strength and courage and a lot of motivation. So I just have to thank you for being able to come on and share your story with me and my listeners. I can't tell you how much it'll mean to someone.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, brother. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
If people would like to follow your story more and just learn and kind of keep updates with you, where all can they find you at?
Yeah, for sure. MacQueenDan.com, MacQueen, Dan.com. It'll be in the show notes. I'm MacQueen Dan across the socials. You can follow me along there. Speaking about based out of Vancouver, Canada for in-person remote gigs. It's a message on my heart. I want to try and change the way you look at the world. The story about walking into Broadway is kind of my whole value prop. Is it the worst or the best? Reframing that subtle thing made all the difference in my vibe, right? Made me look forward to those walks, relish the opportunity, the struggle, the strife, the strain. You're making me better with this. Thank you. It's all about how you view things in your mind. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on your show.
And I will always, as I always do, I will put his links as his website and social media in the description box below, and so that it's easy access for you guys to find. It'll be linked as well, so it'll take you directly to his page and his social medias. If you'd like to keep track of me on social media, I'm on Instagram and TikTok. It's Lethal Venom Podcast on there. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. It's Noah's Podcast. Feel free to follow those if you'd like to learn more about the podcast as well as just general information about some upcoming episodes as well. And as always, listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm on all the major platforms. I'm on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Pandora, as well as others. Feel free to follow the podcast on there to get notified when new episodes release. I want to give another huge thank you to Dan. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure having you on, and keep fighting, keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome what you're doing.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on the show. Pleasure.
And thank you all for listening, tuning in. Y'all have a great rest of your day and week, and I will talk to you and see you on the next episode of Lethal Venom.